Welcome to Earthenkind Quests. My name is Mike. This video shares about the decisions and development of a Warlock character, starting with the character concept, and then building up through higher levels, using the rules in the 2024 Player's Handbook of Dungeons & Dragons. My purpose here is to share about how this particular character developed, and then you could improve on this example for a character that will work best for you. You may have seen this Warlock in some of the episodes of the video series of Nemesis Battles. Currently at level 15, the Warlock named Belaid Burns has started to act as a major antagonist working against other characters. She is in the process of developing a few interrelated plots or subplots as parts of her ongoing fight against her enemies at the famous Spellsword Academy. Here I will share about the Warlock's series of life decisions that went into the character, starting at level 1 and continuing up through the current level 15. In the video text description, you can see the web links for the character sheets in D&D Beyond, captured at levels 8, 14, and 15. The character is named Belaid Burns. She is an infernal tiefling, using the Pact of the Blade as a warlock with a fiend patron. As with all of the characters in the video series of Nemesis Battles, Belaid Burns is optimized in some but certainly not all of her aspects. You easily could create a more powerful character with different options. The starting concept was about someone who faced one rejection after another, never quite feeling comfortable or accepted. She was cast out from a religious monastery, although she stayed there long enough to gain the Acolyte background and the Magic Initiate feat as a cleric. Next in her story, she was cast out from the Spellsword Academy, although she continued to study about magic on her own. Belaid Burns found an acceptance of sorts working for an otherworldly power, known as an archfiend who may be related to her family lineage. This relationship would manifest with the base class of a warlock at level 1, and then formally develop with the subclass of the fiend patron at level 3. As an infernal tiefling, the character of Belaid Burns descended from a fiendish ancestry, perhaps strengthening or complicating the connection with the archfiend patron. This aspect has been mysterious so far, and it could develop in different directions at a later point. Through the infernal tiefling lineage, Belaid Burns gained limited spellcasting, including the cantrips of Thaumaturgy and Firebolt at level 1, the spell Hellish Rebuke at level 3, and the spell Darkness at level 5. The extra spellcasting as an infernal tiefling is especially useful for the warlock with limited numbers of packed magic spell slots. These extra spells can be cast once per long rest without using a spell slot. Similarly, the first level spell gained through the Magic Initiate feat as a cleric at level 1 can be cast once per long rest without a spell slot. Belaid Burns chose the Sanctuary spell as a way to protect herself with her low armor class while using only studded leather armor and no shield training. The Warlock gained even more extra spellcasting at level 4, with the Fey Touched feat, choosing the Hex spell along with the standard Misty Step. The Hex spell can be useful in some situations when the Warlock is not concentrating on a different spell. The Misty Step spell allows for the Warlock to teleport up to 30 feet into a space that the Warlock can see, useful in so many situations of Dungeons & Dragons. In the character story, the Fey Touched feat was an expression of how the Warlock continued to study about magic even after she was cast out from the Spellsword Academy, and apart from the otherworldly gifts of her fiend patron. All Warlocks can choose their Eldritch invocations, with more numbers of them at higher levels, and the ability to choose among more powerful options at higher levels. Belaid Burns selected most of the usual invocations that you might expect of a Warlock. She changed some of them at different Warlock levels. I can summarize about 3 categories of the invocations that gradually developed into the character's toolkit. The first invocation category involved general utility for the Warlock. The Otherworldly Leap invocation was attractive, allowing to cast the jump spell at will without using a spell slot. This extra mobility has been useful in nearly every combat situation. Next, the Devil's Sight invocation could be useful, especially in combination with the Darkness spell, imposing the blinded condition for most opponents, while the Warlock could continue to see through the darkness with her Devil's Sight invocation. At Warlock level 15, Belade Burns upgraded instead to learn the Witch Sight invocation with True Sight that is overall more powerful than Dark Vision, even though the range is limited within 30 feet. Another general utility invocation was the Mask of Many Faces, allowing the Warlock to cast Disguise Self at will without using a spell slot, and then the Illusory Disguise allows the Warlock to gather information as a spy, or to plant false clues and suspicions among her enemies. The second invocation category was about augmenting the Eldritch Blast cantrip, allowing the Warlock to be most effective during ranged combat outside the dangers of melee combat. The Agonizing Blast added more damage to each hit with the Eldritch Blast. The Repelling Blast could push a target back by 10 feet with each hit. The third invocation category was related to the Pact of the Blade, allowing to attack with a packed weapon longsword while using the Charisma ability for the attack and damage modifiers. Later, at level 5, the invocation of Thirsting Blade allowed an extra attack feature for 2 attacks. The Eldritch Smite invocation provided a way to add a substantial amount of extra damage upon a successful hit. Much later, at Warlock level 12, the Devouring Blade invocation provided a third attack with the Packed Weapon Longsword. At character level 5, the Warlock Belade Burns received a new assignment from her Archfiend patron. The Fiend ordered for the Warlock to work with a fire-breathing red dragon. Belade Burns became one member of a team of mighty enforcers advancing the dragon's reign of tyranny and destruction. This assignment was part of an agreement between the Archfiend and the Red Dragon. Already at this time, the Fiend was working on a larger plot outside the knowledge of the dragon or anyone else in the mortal realm. Belade Burns stayed with this assignment up through level 8. Her major character mechanics decision at level 8 was to maximize her Charisma ability score. As an enforcer of the Red Dragon, Belade Burns occasionally fought against the heroes from the Spellsword Academy, and she lost in those confrontations. At this time, the fire-breathing dragon was defeated. Belade Burns and the other enforcers scattered, later regrouped together, and then turned against each other. Meanwhile, the Warlock's Archfiend patron advanced with a larger plot that was set into motion. Among those plots, the Archfiend trapped the Warlock Belade Burns within the fiery domain of the Fiend. Here, Belade Burns moved up to level 14. She gained the Resilient Constitution feat at level 12, greatly boosting her Constitution saving throws while concentrating on spells, and granting more hit points to endure longer through combat encounters. While trapped in the domain of the Fiend, Belade Burns was compelled to fight in an arena-style combat against 2 of her former allies who were trapped in here with her. The Warlock was victorious due to her clever thinking during the battle, combined with the mistakes and unwise choices of her opponents. After this battle, Belade Burns entered into a new contract with the Archfiend. The new contract names the Warlock as the emissary of the Fiend, to be sent back into the mortal realm. She will mount an attack at the Spellsword Academy, bringing fear and dread into the mortal world. The Fiend will provide a group of hellbound warriors to fight during this attack. Otherwise, the Warlock Belade Burns can act with her free will about how to attack the Spellsword Academy. The current assignment for the Warlock is congruent with her own goals independently from the Archfiend. Ever since Belade Burns was cast out from the Spellsword Academy, she has dreamed about demonstrating that she has become more powerful than whatever the Academy could have provided for her. Now Belade Burns has been released from the domain of the Fiend with a new contract agreement and at last acting with her own free will in the mortal realm, as long as she can work genuinely toward the goal of attacking the Spellsword Academy. She is investing a considerable amount of time with preparations, considering more than just the form of a direct physical attack with the Fiend's hellbound warriors. Belade Burns is preparing with a new layer or base of operations of her own, where she can craft magic items for herself, create a strong defensive position when needed, and gradually sway the weight of public opinion against the Spellsword Academy and toward herself as a rival powerful force. The Archfiend will continue to pressure the Warlock to move into the formal attack at the Spellsword Academy, but the boundaries of the Fiendish contract will allow for Belade Burns to proceed with her slow-building approach. One possibly surprising character choice at level 15 was to learn the 8th level spell of Demiplane. Other spells could be more powerful or more useful. The primary reason was for the Warlock to access a Demiplane with storage of specialty items independently from her new layer or base of operations. I will stop myself here from spoiling too much about what the Warlock is planning. Her plans are in motion, and they will develop according to whatever will happen with the dice rolls and the outcomes during the next episodes of the Nemesis Battles video series. As I mentioned earlier during this video, you easily could create a more powerful character with different options that will work best for you. The Warlock character of Belaid Burns worked reasonably well so far with the Nemesis Battles episodes. In a different setting or campaign, I probably would select other character options. The stories with the Warlock Belaid Burns and other characters will continue. For now, in the comment section, please share your ideas and suggestions about what you would do differently with a Warlock character and about what you imagine could happen next. As always, thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video.